Hey friends, so we're back with our class notes, this time from our Thursday night session. This week we only had one session because we had our wrestling coach Kenny Johnson in the house where we practiced the 2-on-1 grips and the Russian tie. Really good stuff, and we actually integrated some bagua throws in the wrestling session. But back to our class notes here. After a solid warm-up, especially focusing on hip mobility and the single positions of the snake smooth body palm, we then went through the full pattern with the focus on really talking about each and every position and counting. So we have numbers for every position that we move through. So everybody would be really clear about where the pit stops are, where the anchoring points are. Okay, so let's count here. That's step number 2 in the single palm change. Step number 3, stepping forward. Step number 5, turning to the side and turning back to the center of the circle with step number 6. Let's count again. Step 1, moving out of the circle, finding good alignment. Step 2, turning towards the center. Step 3, moving down into the first low stance. 4, big circle, lowest stance of the snake. 5, moving into a solid and low gongbu before step 6, returning back to the single palm change position. Then single palm change. Step 1, shifting the weight. Step 2, kobu. Step 3, turn. Step 4, step again. Step 5, turn to the outside. Step 6, turn to the inside of the circle. That's usually the beginning phase of learning a movement pattern, where you move through a movement pattern in a more robotic fashion, but you'd always try to hit the perfect alignment and structure towards any given direction. So this sort of practice usually takes a few weeks until you're pretty sure and clear about how to align yourself, and you don't have any questions anymore where to set your feet, which foot is the one that steps next, and so on. So this is a very important learning phase, and only later, when all those step stones are clear and defined, then we try to make the movement smooth and more fluid. Moving through the snake smooth body palm here, so everybody can be sure to understand the different positions. After a few sets and repetitions, we then moved into the next stage of the practice, where we try to hit each and every position again, but without taking a break at those pit stops. So when watched from the outside, the movement looks very fluid and continuous, but as a practitioner, you still notice and recognize each and every pit stop position. This would be the second phase of your learning. Really important to combine and connect the dots. One more time, I explained the importance of moving the whole body in one unit. So sometimes when people practice, you see that they first, for example, move their hand and then the upper body and then the lower body follows, or that they first move their feet and then the upper body follows. But the goal in all those Bagua forms is that the body moves as a coherent unit from start to finish. Of course, after you've practiced the palm changes or the movement patterns solo and in fixed step pattern, you want to integrate it back into the circle walking. And yeah, that's what we did afterwards. So 20 minutes of circle walking. Everybody was practicing all the palm changes they'd learned before. And we still have a group with long-term practitioners with over 10 years of experience, as well as people who just joined us a few weeks ago. So very different levels on the mat, but the tasks always stay the same. Try to be very precise in your movement. Know and notice each and every pit stop. Make sure your alignment and your structure is on point, and then move through all those pit stops in a fluid and smooth fashion. So from the view of an outside spectator, you don't see any pit stops, but just a continuous flow of movement. But from the inside, as the practitioner, you feel the smoothness and the fluidity, but you also feel and understand each and every pit stop and their necessities or the needs for structural alignment. So that was the circle walking part of our practice. And we then went to practice the fifth form of our first line, which is called Li Zhang. We did it in the previous 2 weeks already. And the key movement of Li Zhang is this downward and outward leading or guiding arm. We have a closing and opening here, a piercing with the hand, and the downward and outward chop with the forearm before we push forward into a long gongbu. Closing and opening, piercing, and then turning Li Zhang to the outside before pushing forward into gongbu. One more time, closing, opening, piercing, Li Zhang to the side, and pushing forward into a long gongbu stance. This is Li Zhang, the fifth form of our first Hou Tian line. We then went to partner practice, where we still practice in the 100% cooperative manner of having a partner just holding hands for you. And we reviewed the 3 entry methods that we've practiced 2 weeks ago, which is stepping forward and striking straight forward like in Pichuan, then chopping from the outside to the inside like here. And the last one is striking circular from the outside to the inside and adding Li Zhang, with the goal to always move into the back of our opponent or partner in this case. And we later on added 2 applications from when we are in the back of our partner. The first one is a breakdown towards the front by pressing the forearm into the hip and on the thigh of my partner and moving into a 45-degree angle to the front. I press down and force my partner to the floor. Very, very simple and very effective takedown. Starting, let's say, from Pichuan, moving into the back with Li Zhang, and from here, pressing down when moving forward. Sometimes you need to do 2 steps, 3 steps. If you keep moving forward and you keep pressing on the thigh, the knee will collapse, and so the partner or opponent will fall. The other version, or the second takedown we've practiced, was the lift and dump. So you move and lift your opponent up before you then tilt the body and kick the legs so the partner falls heavy on the side. Of course, if you practice this with a partner, either do it on a very soft mat so you can really drop your partner, or you just practice the movement of lifting and then tilting. So important here is that you don't try so much to lift your opponent, but that you move so close that you only have to lift your own and extend your own body. Then the lift will be really easy. Then the tilt, and finally you add the kick to increase the power of the throw. Okay, again, we combined everything. Pichuan, Li Zhang, moving into the back, and then either pressing forward onto the thigh in a 45-degree angle, or let's say here I chop forward, I move with Li Zhang to the back, and I tilt and throw my partner on the side. Couple of minutes here of that I just filmed of the Partner practice. In general, I would say it's very beneficial if you have at least 30 minutes of partner practice per session. You know, Bagwajang and every internal martial arts, they rely heavily on solo practice, but without the partner practice, it's rather dull and very hard to understand what this actually is about. So 2 takedowns, 3 entries. That was the class of Thursday night. Speak soon.